Major announcement from Governor Pillen, and there are still a lot of questions about the ICE detention facility coming to McCook.
We first brought you the announcement as breaking news yesterday. Today, our Johan Marin is working to learn more about the plans, and he joins us live in the studio. Johan, what can you tell us?
Well, Brian and Aaron, I reached out to several government agencies today, including the governor's office, State Patrol, and the Department of Corrections to get more details about what the DHS is calling the Cornhusker Clink. But after several attempts, we are still left with a mountain of questions. Here's what we do know so far. In yesterday's announcement, Governor Pillen told us an agreement has been made with DHS to use the existing minimum security facility called the Work Ethic Camp. Officials say it currently houses 200 inmates, but they will make room for up to 300 detainees who are minimal to low risk. We also know the 186 inmates currently there will be rehoused at different NDCS facilities across the state. The state has eight of the others. Out of those, there are 5 where these inmates could go. Today, we asked the Inspector General of Nebraska's correctional system for the current populations of those facilities and found they are all over operational capacity, so it's not clear what's the best option for those currently housed at the McCook facility. The timeline here is believed to be about 45 to 60 days, so we should be learning more soon, though it's not clear when the detention facility will reopen to ICE. We do know 20 Nebraska National Guard soldiers will be assigned to assist with clerical work, and they are expected to start training next week. In the studio, I'm Johan Marin, First Alert 6.
Johan, thanks for that information. Now, Nebraska Representative Adrian Smith, whose district includes McCook, says he's excited to learn more about the project. Smith says, quote, recent arrests in Nebraska of violent gang leaders wanted in El Salvador have shown President Biden's failure to address border crisis and impacted more than just border communities.